For the past many years now, we have been able to take the opportunity on the Shabbat either before or after Veterans Day to mark Veterans Day here in our congregation and to honor those in our congregation who have served in the military, to remember those who are no longer with us, but certainly to honor those who still are. This has been observed in particular over the past many years by inviting a veteran from our congregation to speak as the sermon deliverer for this Shabbat, and we have had some incredible speakers over the years, many of whom are sitting here in the congregation this night. And so with no further ado, it's my pleasure to invite forward this year's esteemed speaker, Howard Cain. So Howard, come on up. Howard Cain is a longtime congregant here at NSCI, and I'm gonna read your bio, but I know you're gonna tell us more about it, and then I'm gonna come back and say more about you at the end. Does that work? Okay. Roger, I like that. Howard has an incredible story to tell us, and it's one for which we should be immensely grateful that he is here to tell, but just a little bit of a sneak preview. Howard was a B29 Flight Engineer stationed on Okinawa during World War II. His squadron flew a photo recon mission over Hiroshima and Nagasaki shortly after the atom bomb drops. As a result, he witnessed the destruction of both cities firsthand in ways that I think most of us could never really understand. Howard is now retired from the Leo Burnett Advertising Agency, where he was a senior vice president, management director, and he is active in Jewish war veterans, veterans of foreign wars, World War II Museum, and American Legion, and of late he has been interviewed by any number of pretty amazing places to tell his story. Some of these interviews go on for 2 hours, but I have asked Howard to limit his words to about 14 minutes. But what that tells us is there is a lot between 14 minutes and 2 hours that all of us would do well to learn. And we don't have to actually go on a screen to do that. We have a person in our congregational family who has a story to tell. So if you're inspired by his words or want to learn more, I'm just gonna say it from the outset, I encourage all of us not to wait, but to reach out and hear stories told firsthand. This is an incredible gift for any of us always when it comes to understanding our history, before that history gets too far into the past. So, the living legend, come on up.
Rabbi, thank you for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Shabbat Shalom. Let me get my crib notes out here. In college, they were on my cuff. It's gratifying for an old vet like me to know there's still a historical interest in World War II. Let me put it in the context for you. During the war, there were over 12 million of us in uniform, men and women, all branches of service. Today, it's estimated that there are less than 2% of us still standing. Needless to say, I'm very grateful to be here today. In 1944, I was a senior in high school, 17 years old. None of us thought about college. We all knew that at 18 it was the draft board and ultimately the Army. There was a caveat. When you were 17, you could enlist in any branch of service of your choice. And the caveat was you needed your parents' signature, your parents' approval. Well, my older brother, there was only 2 of us, was already overseas. We did not, in Europe, we did not know where. And I knew that no way my parents would ever approve by my enlisting. Well, I wanted to get into the Air Corps. I wanted to get in for a couple of reasons. I was a very impressionable young kid, 17. The movies had done a number on me, and as a Jew, I felt it was my responsibility to get in there and fight. So one day, I ditched school, took the elevator downtown, the old Jackson Boulevard, the old post office. I went to the Army Air Corps recruiting station, got the enlistment papers, took them home, filled them out, right hand my father's name, left hand my mother's name, found my birth certificate, went back, took my physical, raised my right hand, took the oath, and at 17, I'm now a member of the Army Air Corps. Came home, dinner that night, I said, Ma, Pa, my parents were Russian immigrants. They were not father, mother, they were Ma, Pa. I told them what I had done. I came closer to dying that night than any time in my military career. My mother took a broom and started to beat on me, and in Yiddish, "Ken gehargeverd," you're going to get killed. Well, she was doing a very good job of it herself. I shortly called to active service, Keesler Field, Mississippi, went through basic training, aircraft engine mechanic school, flight engineer school, B29s, and then ultimately on a troop ship 21 days later, Okinawa, where I joined the 460th Bomb Squadron, 333rd Bomb Group. Now I'd like to segue if I could to 1939, 2 years before Pearl Harbor. 2 years before Pearl Harbor. News out of Germany. German scientists have just broken the uranium atom, which translated means they were well on their way to developing their own atom bomb. 3 American scientists, Albert Einstein and Enrico Fermi and Louis Szilard, tried to get President Roosevelt, and urge him to start our own program, knowing full well what it meant with them if Germany got the atom bomb. They got stonewalled because in 1939 we were very much, I won't say it, we were an isolationist country. The theme back then was America first. Come Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, Roosevelt executed the go-ahead for the Manhattan Project. That was the code name for the development of the atom bomb. It was top secret. Only the right to know. Actually, the first breakthrough took place right here in Chicago, at the University of Chicago Stagg Field, which is a football field. Underneath the stands was a handball court converted to a laboratory where Enrico Fermi worked. It was the first nuclear chain reaction. We were on our way. We built a city in Tennessee that was so top secret, it was not on any map. It was called Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And it was there that they were enriching uranium. The main facility, if you will, for the development facility, called it the lab where they were actually building the bombs, was in Los Alamos in New Mexico. Now let's go to April 1945. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, our president, dies. He dies 1 month before the war ends in Europe, which was May 8th, 1945. Harry Truman is now sworn in as president. He'd only been vice president for 4 months. He knew zero about the Manhattan Project. They had not included him in the loop. So very quickly, he got briefed, and now what to do next? We were pressing Japan for unconditional surrender. Part of that was we wanted to try their emperor as a war criminal. To the Japanese, he was a deity. He was a living god. And they were ready to fight to the last man, woman, and child to defend their country and his name and him. We had put together an invasion force plan of 3 million. 3 million. Casualty estimates, 50%. 50%, that's over a million. We lost totally in World War II over 400,000 deaths in our armed forces in the world, all theaters of operation. But this, we're now talking about well over a billion. Truman said, no way, no how. We're going to use the bomb. In July of 1945, we have a bomb ready to be tested. And we actually have 2 bombs ready to go, but we want to test them first. Alamogordo, New Mexico, out in the desert. The bomb is put on a scaffold. Why on a scaffold? Because they were designed not to impact bombs to explode, but to explode up at a given altitude where they'd have mass dispersion, mass destruction. The code for a successful test was the baby is born. Truman was at Potsdam with Churchill and Stalin. I still don't know where Potsdam is, but he was there. And he got the message, the baby is born. We came back, decision, go at the bomb. The 509th off of Tinian, that was a squadron, the 509th Composite Group. Colonel Ralph Tibbets, the Enola Gay, every pilot named his own airplane. Enola Gay was his mother's name. But that was the crew, that was the plane that was going to carry the first bomb. It was called Little Boy, about 6,000 pounds. Hiroshima to some, was the target. The mission was a tactical and strategic success. Perfect weather, never broke radio silence, dropped, hit the target, pulled away. Casualties, the numbers vary. I've heard 75,000, I've heard 100,000, I've heard 150,000. No one really knows because the radiation, long-term radiation. The result was the Japanese would not surrender. Still, we wanted the emperor tried, no, okay. Second city, 3 days later, August 9th, the next plane, boxcar. And again, the captain of the plane was Captain Ralph Box. Yeah, they were going to go and hit Kokura, not Nagasaki, but Kokura. Why Kokura? Because Kokura had the largest munitions factory in Japan, and the thinking was if we had to invade, if we could wipe out that munitions factory, it would save a lot of lives. They fly over Kokura, and Kokura is weathered in. What to do? They circle, and they're starting to take ground fire. So they divert, as planned, to second city, which was Nagasaki, dropped the bomb in Nagasaki, came back. Shortly thereafter, 2-3 days afterwards, 2-3 days afterwards, peace was signed. We made a concession. The emperor would not be tried as a Hirohito. He would not be tried as a war criminal, but rather he would remain as a figurehead with no particular power. That was on the battleship Missouri, I think the first weekend in August of '45, if memory serves me right. Shortly thereafter, that I don't pin me to the date because it was about 76 years ago. Our squadron, 460th Bomb Squadron, we flew a photo recon mission over both Nagasaki in Hiroshima. Perfect weather. I was a flight engineer. I sat behind the co-pilot, but I sat aft. I faced aft. I had no window. So as we approached target, I asked the captain, the old man, the skipper, he probably was 24. The rest of us, you know, we were kids. Could I jump in with the bombardier, in the bombardier's nose? We were not carrying the Northern bobsite anymore. War was over, so there was roofs, fine. Over we went, both cities. We were low level, 3,000 to 4,000 feet, and believe me, that's low for a B-29. I have been asked, I don't know how many times, by family, by friends, what did you see? Tell us what you saw. And I fumble and I stumble because, again, looking at it through the eyes of an 18-year-old. So finally I came up with my own set of words. I saw a vastness of nothing. Nothing being the operative word. A wasteland of nothing, a vastness of nothing. Nothing moved, no people, no cars, no building, just gravel, whatever you want to call it, as far as the eye could see. Made me sick. It was eerie. I still, in my mind's eye, I still see it, and it was 76 years ago. I was asked, are you sorry that they dropped the bomb? How do you feel about it? What's the morality of it all? You know, we were the only nation that had it at that time. There are 8 nations now that have nuclear capability. The bombs were 6,000 pounds. Today, a nuclear warhead, 12 inches in circumference has the same destructive power as the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. I said, no, I'm not sorry we dropped the bomb. First of all, I'm here. It saved my, no, I said, it saved my life. There's no way I know I would have survived if we had to invade with the kamikazes, you know, crashing and everything. I said, they were our enemy. And I said, it's war. A little humor, if I might, into what is not a very nice story, I guess. We went home very suddenly one day. You're on your way home. I think I'd been on Okinawa a year and a half. We hit stateside. We all queue up to make a phone call home. Dime, quarter, I forgot what it was in the slot, 0 for the operator. I said, I'd like to make a long distance call home. Oh, here's the number. It was Chicago. We lived in Inglewood, whatever the number was. From me to whoever answers. Well, my father picks up the phone and in his very thick Russian accent, hello. Operator says, have a collect call. Will you accept charges? He says, do call collect Okinawa? Hang up. Bang. Welcome home. Some years ago, a lot of years ago, I guess it was, I was reading a book about Vietnam. And there was a quote in there, 13 words, from an unknown dog-faced Marine. I've never forgotten it because it described the horrors of war in 13 words that just have never left my mind. And I quote, I hope I go to heaven because I've done my time in hell. When the rabbi asked me to speak tonight, she said, anything, you know, you'll be talking to a Jewish audience. And I thought, what can I say that would be meaningful? And I thought, I'm going to tell them about my hero. I mean, we all know about Einstein, Albert Einstein, the role, and Dr. Oppenheimer, the role he played, Leo Szilard. But how many people know Jacob Besser, P-E-S-E-R? Jacob Besser was I'll call him an observant Jew. Not an maybe he was Orthodox, but certainly an observant Jew. He enlisted in the Army Air Corps the day after Pearl Harbor. By training, he was a mechanical engineer. He became a trained radar specialist, and because of his unique background, was sent to Los Alamos to work with Dr. Oppenheimer on the bombs. When the bombs were transferred to Tinian for active use, he went with them. He is the only man that flew both missions. He flew on the Enola Gay, and he flew on Boxcar. His job was to arm the bombs shortly before they were released. Now, let me tell you something. It is not, this I know from my own experience, it is not for the faint of heart to climb into a bomb bay of a B29 while it's flying, even though the bomb bay doors may be closed. It takes a lot of guts. He's my hero. Lastly, not too long ago, I was listening to television. The news was so depressing. It just got to me. I thought, is this what we wanted is this what I want for my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids? What's going on in this crazy world? I thought of a play that once ran in New York. The title was Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. And I thought, boy, does that exactly say how I feel. I thought of Hiroshima, I thought of Nagasaki, walked to my desk, and with apologies to this Marine from Vietnam, I took a piece of paper, for plagiarism, apologies for plagiarism. I took a piece of paper and I wrote, I hope I go to heaven because I've seen hell. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Howard, on behalf of all of us who are here, who you see, and the many you don't see who are watching you on the internet, I want to thank you for sharing your story. I think for those of us who, I think to myself, I have a son who is 14 years old, and could I imagine in 2.5 years when he'll turn 17, can I even imagine? I think I would kill him, actually, I don't think it would be with a broom, but it would be with something. But can I even imagine what our older teenagers today, could they even place themselves or imagine themselves in circumstances like the one that you and those of your generation found yourself in? And if so, would they be compelled by the same spirit of patriotism, of duty, of obligation, of courage that you were, that your generation was? I don't know the answer. I thank God and hope that won't be the case because of the work that you did, that your fellow veterans did. And we stand here today in freedom, in particular as Jewish people. We shouldn't forget the context of World War II. We stand here today in spite of and because of, really directly, your service, and we are indebted. We are all indebted to you. So stay here, don't move, and we have, as many of you have likely seen any number of veterans here with us in the congregation this night, and as has become our practice, we'd like to take a moment to honor you and offer a blessing on your behalf. So if you are a veteran of the United States military, would you please rise? Yep. Stay standing. We offer these words of blessing from the Chaplain's Handbook for Veterans of the United States Military. Compassionate God, source of mercy, we pay tribute to those who have served our country, to express our gratitude for their courage and selflessness, both those among us today and those of generations past. This nation, built by those born of this soil and those who have come here from all corners of the earth, is on a continual journey toward its destiny. May we never let down those who have served in defense of this country. May we uphold the values of freedom, of the inherent dignity of every human being by our own right conduct, by the kindness and tolerance we show to one another. May we lead the world by example and become, in the words of Isaiah, a light to the nations. Then will the labors and sacrifices of these veterans be honored not in words alone, but by all of our deeds. To you all, we are grateful. Thank you so much. May God bless you.